Hello. Welcome. All right, so today we're going to be talking about bulk book orders, and let me know where you are joining me from in the world and what your book is about. Now, the examples that I'll be using for today are from my most recent book, the Daniel Fast Meals Cookbook. It's a 21-day cookbook that I released earlier this year. And I am actually doing a case study to show you the exact breakdown of what I did to be able to cover a bulk book order purchase, meaning I ordered books in bulk. I didn't print them on Amazon. So covered that cost with the pre-sale. Then also how I was able to connect with over 110,000 of potential readers to be able to possibly purchase the book. And so I'll be giving a full breakdown of that in my case study that is in the description of this video. I'll add that to the comments as well. And so let me know where you're joining me from in the world, and then also what your books are about, or if you're not an author yet, what you're interested in writing about. So let's dig in. Now, authors come to me and they say, okay, well, I want to get my book out there. And that's the most common thing that when they're reaching out to me for coaching or for marketing, for done for you marketing services, things like that. And I always ask them, when you say get your book out there, out where? Where are we going? Where's there? And it's a common thing that authors use and fellow authors use, because I'm an author too. But fellow authors use that because they really want to say, okay, where can I get orders for my book? And one great way to do that is through bulk book orders. And this is something that can feel a little intimidating if you've never done it before. And so today I want to talk to you about a simple way that you can do it, where you can be sure to find people who are your ideal readers and your ideal audience members. And that way you are more likely to increase sales, because often we hear that, oh, my book's for everybody, and your book is not for everybody. Everything ain't for everybody, and that's okay. So I'm going to say that again. Everything ain't for everybody, and that's okay. So your book has a purpose that is specific to your book's audience. And with that, that means that there's a very particular ideal reader. You might have heard, or maybe not have heard the word, but something called an ideal client avatar, an ideal reader. And that means that's the person who is most likely to enjoy your book, the person who is most likely to purchase your book or enjoy it as a gift. And so when you are focusing on bulk book orders, you want to make sure that you are looking in places where your ideal reader hangs out. And so I'm going to talk about how to do that. Now, as I mentioned before, these examples are coming from my most recent book launch, and in particular the pre-sale, because these are strategies that I use for each of my books and also for my clients to get the results that we get. So let's dig in. Now, before we talk about how you can do this, I want to just acknowledge that I know a lot of authors, and I've talked about this before, a lot of authors, I won't include myself in this because I'm considered an extrovert, but a lot of authors are introverts. And so it can be hard to try to put yourself out there, to do something like a live stream, or to schedule out posts on social media, things of that sort, or to really even pitch yourself. And it's something where I work with my authors through coaching to let them know, hey, okay, if you're not telling people about your book, then other people are not going to tell them about your book. And it's something where you have to kind of come out of your shell. And I find that the authors that I work with are scared because they don't want to seem like braggadocious, or they don't want to be boastful, or they don't want people to think like, oh, it's all about me. And that's a very real thing. And that's totally fine if that's how you feel. However, if it's something, and I work with Christian authors predominantly, but I'm open to anyone. But the authors that I work with, generally it's something that God has placed in their spirit or placed in their heart for them to publish. And so if you are putting yourself in the way of whatever God has given you, then you're blocking your blessings, and you're blocking the blessings of those who could receive deliverance or freedom from the book that you write. And so that's something to be mindful of. And so that's something that I use to kind of get over my hump of being afraid of, oh, are people going to like this? Or is this something that people are going to be interested in? Because it can be scary if you are working on something for so long, and even for a short time. If you wrote your book quickly, you're working on something and it's kind of a piece of your heart and you're putting it out there. So I acknowledge that. I understand it can be scary to put yourself out there. However, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. And so if you are not pitching yourself, which we're going to talk about, if you're not letting people know about your book, the right people about your book, then of course you're going to miss those opportunities because you have kind of shot yourself in the foot and not even given a chance to allow that to happen, to even be able to get the yes. So all right, so first off, we're going to make sure that we're working through that hurdle, and it's okay to do it scared, because that's better than not doing it at all. And then also another thing that I find that some authors do that I work with, is that they're just not sure where to pitch their book or who would be interested in buying their book because they hear that their book is for everybody. And when I say that, I don't mean that your friends and family aren't going to support you in your book endeavors. They will, hopefully. But at some point, you're going to run out of friends and family. And for the most part, your book is likely not for them anyway. And so it's okay if you get to that point, or it's okay if they're not necessarily jumping on the bandwagon to support you in purchasing. But there are other things that they can do to help, like sharing a social media post or letting a friend know. So a strategy you'll see me use in the coming weeks, well, actually, no, this week, because Mother's Day is this weekend, is to let people know, or to say, hey, I have a book for new moms. If you know a new mom, go ahead and grab a copy of this book for her so that she can navigate the postpartum period. And so that's the period, the first year to 2 years or so, even beyond, after you have a child. And so even though I might not have friends, I mean, I do have friends, but if I didn't have friends that were new moms, I could still use my audience and ask them to tag someone who is a new mom, or to think about that person who is the ideal reader for my book. So, and then lastly, one other thing that can kind of help with that is about not knowing what to do, or feeling like you're scared to be able to put yourself out there, or not really having a strategy to get those book orders, is to use things like templates and guides. And so I do have a template and guide that I'll drop in the comments for you, and it walks you through what you can do to stay organized when you're researching, which is the first step of what we'll talk about in just a second. To stay organized with those pitches, so that way when you are reaching out to different audiences, different organizations, clubs, things of that sort, that you're able to have a way to track who it is that you're talking to. And so I have a bundle for you that you can use to do that, and as well as a way to kind of walk through and say, okay, I want to make sure that I'm following up with these folks, and that I'm mindful of who did I even contact in the first place, because it can be a lot to organize, especially if you have more than one book. And so I'll go ahead and drop that in the comments as well. And then we'll get into the strategy that I used to be able to pitch to an audience that I did not know of at that time. So let me take a step back. So from Monday to Friday, I was able to secure, within a week, I was able to secure a speaking gig and also a bulk book order just in a matter of those 5 days. And this was from an audience I had never spoken to before, had no idea who they were. They didn't know who I was either. And so we'll talk about how to do that. And so the first thing you want to do when you are looking to secure bulk book orders is to do your research. And this can look like looking up things online, finding different organizations that are local to you if you're somebody who's comfortable with in-person events, or finding different areas, podcasts, speaking events, things of that sort, to be able to research where your ideal reader might hang out. So for example, going back to Mother's Day, because it's coming up this weekend. So for example, there are Mother's Day brunches that are happening. There are Mother's Day events that are happening with churches or women's groups and things of that sort. So if you have a book that is geared towards mothers, and we'll get into how many levels to go deep in terms of what kind of moms, because not all moms are the same. But if you have a book that's geared towards moms, then this is definitely a holiday that you want to capitalize on, to make sure that you are finding the right people that are going to be attracted to your book. And so it could look like you reaching out via email to these organizations, or shooting them a message on social media, finding where they're active to be able to say, hey, I have something that your members, your audience might like. What could we do to partner? What could we do to work together? And if you feel comfortable tying that into a speaking opportunity, because that's a great way to also sell bulk copies of your book as well. So step number 1 is researching those different options that are either local or online. And so those could be things like podcasts, conferences, panels, things of that sort. So you can partner with organizations to be able to sell bulk book orders of your book. And so the way that I did this is with my cookbook. It's about the Daniel fast, which is a 21-day change in eating. You still get to eat, but it's a change in eating, and it involves increasing your prayer time with the Lord. And so I have a devotional on the topic, which I used previously to secure speaking gigs. So the same strategies I'm telling you with churches and organizations that do the Daniel fast corporately, meaning with a larger audience. And then with the cookbook, I remember as I was waiting for my bulk book order to come from overseas, and the arrival was that was a whole nother story for another day. We'll have to go over that another day. So as I was waiting, I said, okay, well, what can I do to kind of generate a buzz? What can I do to increase the buzz? Because I was already doing a pre-sale, already doing a launch. What kind of things can I do? And so at that point, I started researching on Facebook and just typed in Daniel fast because that was the topic of my book. And so I researched from my business page. You can do it from your personal page. I chose to do it from my business page so that I would have a presence that would be clearly discernible as my as the pin name that I use for my book, because I go under Chef Ashley Shep for that. And so for me, I wanted to get that brand authority. And so just reached out to different churches that popped up when I searched that keyword, Daniel fast. And so I saw a couple churches that were doing the Daniel fast and that had already started their posting. And so at that moment I said, okay, let me go ahead and comment. Let me go ahead and engage. Let me add some information to the conversation. How can I increase my authority? How can I increase to show that I know what I'm talking about, that I'm an authority in this space, and also help their audience, and in that case, their congregation, help them along with their Daniel fast. And so did that on a couple of posts, and then also decided to reach out to them another way. So reaching out to them either via the phone or via email if they had an email available that I could use, and just connecting with them and saying, okay, do you need somebody to support with your Daniel fast? Do you need someone to come? And I say come because I did virtual, but do you need somebody to host a virtual cooking demonstration for your congregation so that they have some support on the food side? Of course, the faith side would be good with the pastors of the church or the reverends of the church. But do you need someone who can come and do a cooking demonstration virtually for you to be able to have that as an option, so that way there's some support there? And so did that. I organized it using the same templates that I put in the link in the comments for you. And with that, I found a couple churches that I hadn't already previously worked with. They reached back out to me, set up phone calls, did some email back and forth. And one church in particular, during that Monday through Friday period, they did a 25 book bulk book order purchase of the devotional, also ordered some cookbooks. And then we scheduled a time for me to do the cooking demonstration that I just mentioned for their church virtually. And so this is a church I had never heard of before. However, I saw that they were posting that they were doing the Daniel fast, and I said, okay, well, let me shoot my shot. Let me see what kind of help I can provide for them. So had I not done that, then I would not have been able to have a new connection. They want me to come back next year and do something similar. And so now it's something where it's a yearly thing that I'm able to connect with them because I chose to put myself out there. And that goes back to what we're talking about of how authors always say, okay, I want to get my book out there. Well, in order to get your book out there, you got to get yourself out there. You have to be willing to put yourself out there, because at the end of the day, you are the author of the book. And unless you're doing a pen name book where you just kind of want to be entirely a secret pen name book where you just kind of want to be entirely hidden, which is fine, you at some point are going to have to be the face of your book. And even for my clients that hire me for full service marketing, I still encourage them and show them ways that they can be on the forefront, because at the end of the day, people want to connect with the author. And so going back to our steps, I kind of jumped over a little bit, got excited. So going back to our steps, the first step you want to do for your bulk book orders is research. So you want to find different people, places, organizations, connections that you can make in order to form potential collaboration. So reach out to them, keep track of them, and you can do that with the templates that I've provided in the links or in the comments. And then also you want to pitch them. And so I said it, but I want to explicitly explain what that means. So pitching them can involve stating to them, hey, I am a children's book author and I want to be able to do a school visit to talk about washing your hands. So I've worked with a client before. She had a book called Little Man, Wash Your Hands, which of course during the pandemic, please, yes, everybody needs to wash their hands. And even now you need to wash your hands. But during that point, it was even more important for kids to understand that we need to make sure we're washing our hands properly. And as the mom of a toddler and a baby, definitely in our household, that's a skill that needs to be practiced. Even with some adults out there, we're not going to name names, but even with some adults out there, it's something that needs to be practiced. And with that, she could pitch a school or pitch a daycare, especially because those are foundational skills that those students or those kids need to learn. And with that, she would describe the benefits of her being the person to do that for the school of, oh, okay, well, if you are encouraging your students and staff to wash their hands the correct way, because that was what the book was teaching, and then also making sure they're using soap and counting the 20 seconds, things of that sort, then that's going to decrease the rates of absenteeism. So you're going to have less kids that are out sick. You're going to have less staff that are out sick because the kids aren't getting them sick. And then you're going to be able to make more money as a business because now you're having a healthy environment for the students. The parents are going to feel more comfortable because you are taking care of their precious little ones while they're there, and you're teaching them lifelong habits. So see how each of those steps position, or each of those different components positions that book to the daycare, to the school, to let them know, hey, this is a reason why you should order this book in bulk, because it's something that can help your students, help your readers. In this case, the readers are the teachers, or the kids if they're old enough to comprehend or old enough to read. They can comprehend, but if they're old enough to read. So when you are pitching these different organizations or schools, you want to position yourself and explain why your book is a great choice for them. You don't just want to say, buy my book for your students. You want to give clear reasons as to why it would be beneficial to them and why it would be something that's helpful. So if you have ever pitched your book to an organization, a school, anyone, drop in the comments and let me know who you pitched it to as well. So next, when you're trying to secure bulk book orders, you also want to have patience. Now, this is something that can be a little bit challenging as a society. It's just to have patience. And so with that, when you are pitching, you of course want to have patience with the people who you're pitching because they have a lot going on, regardless of whether it's a corporation, a nonprofit, whatever the case may be, a school especially. All of these different organizations or groups have a lot going on. And so the fact that they might not have responded back to your pitch, or they are taking a little bit longer to respond to your pitch, that doesn't mean that it's a no. So getting back to biblical, a delay is not a denial. Just because they have not reached out to you and told you and confirmed with you, hey, we would love to purchase your book in bulk, that does not mean it's a no. So then what you are going to want to do is, the next P, is to have persistence. Meaning that you are going to want to follow up with those people. The fortune is in the follow-up, okay? And that's something that a lot of authors and a lot of business owners forget about, or that we get so busy going, oh, I need to go to my next person, go to my next person. You need to follow up with the same people that you've worked with before. So if you've worked with organizations and gotten these bulk book orders before, reach back out to them and say, hey, I've got a new book. Or, hey, I see you have a new set of students. Is it something that you think I could come back in and work with these same set of students? Or maybe you're working with, maybe you work with business owners because that's what your book is about. Oh, okay, I see that you have a new cohort of business owners. Is there an opportunity for me to come and teach a class with them about XYZ? So you want to have persistence. And when I say persistence, I don't mean being irritating. I don't mean that, but you want to follow up with them consistently. So for example, another church that I reached out to for my cookbook to see if they would do a bulk book order or to see if they were able to have me come and speak. They had already planned out all of their Daniel fast items. And so they didn't need me at that time because they're like, our congregation has a ton of resources. We don't want to add anything else to the mix right now. However, please feel free to send us your items. And then when it comes to next year or the next time we do the Daniel fast season, then we can see if we can fit you into the mix. And so to me, that's still a yes. That's not something that I'm like, oh, okay. Like, obviously, it's not an immediate sale. However, now I'm in the process of following up with them. I've sent them a copy of the cookbook. I sent them a few other little pieces of swag as well. And then periodically I send them an email, and that's scheduled out. I don't have to necessarily remember to do that. There's software you can use to schedule it, even Gmail. You can send later there. So I'm able to do that. And then as it gets closer to the season, I know that they'll start to make a decision in October. Then I'll want to make sure to follow up with them in another way. So maybe I'll send them a card as well and saying, hey, thanks so much for your consideration. I really appreciate you taking time to review my book. Are there any questions I can answer for you? Things of that sort. And so it might not always be a yes right now. It could be a yes in the future, because you never know what seeds you're planting when it comes to trying to help people to move further with your book. And so that's something that has helped me out tremendously, because when you start to plant these seeds, when you start to reach out to these different organizations and keep track of it, then they start to remember you. And as well, inviting them to follow you or inviting them to check out a previous speaking gig that you've done with a similar organization is also helpful, because then they get to learn more about you. They get to see what kind of person you are, and then they're more likely to want to order a book for the organization or order for those individuals, so that way your message can be continued. And so hopefully this has been helpful for you. If you are joining on replay, then type in #replay. And if you didn't hear at the beginning, I am hosting a pre-sale case study. And that is basically a look at how I was able to achieve the results that I got from my most recent book launch. And this is going to focus just on the pre-sale portion. So the part before my book went public for the physical copy on Amazon. And so some of the results included being able to make almost 5 figures with this book launch during the pre-sale portion, and also being able to get my book in front of 110,000 potential readers that were ideal readers for myself as well, and a few other goodies, including being able to cover the cost of a overseas bulk print order, which I know for some authors that's a dream that they have, and so it is possible with the power of pre-sales. So if you are interested in joining this case study, it's going to be later this month. The link is in the description for this video. I'll go ahead and type it in. For you again. If you're over on Instagram, then you can shoot me a DM with the word, or you can comment case study, and I will send you a DM so that you can get access to it. And okay, so all right, CG Lewis says the goal for this month is to send out some pitches to orgs for book orders. Okay, perfect. This is timely, and thanks for sharing. You are more than welcome. So, and I didn't even introduce myself. But I'm actually with Shep Publishing House, and I help authors get paid to publish with efficient and effective marketing strategies. So if you need support as well, links for that are in the description. I offer one-on-one coaching for clients to be able to get over their humps and be able to get their clarity that they need in order to sell more books. And then also I support authors with self-publishing, and I provide ways in which they can own all rights and royalties, where I'm just the support person for them, where they are the publisher. So if you need anything, of course, reach out to me on all social media platforms and click the links in the description. So thanks again.